What's up everybody, Fritz here, and in today's video we're going to actually go over the last thing that we need to do before we fit the M235i with its new wheels. Let's get into the video. Now you might be wondering to yourself, what else do we have to do? Because we already did the lower control arms, did the thrust arms, adjusted the camber and the alignment. And although all those adjustments will help us because we are going an inch wider in the front and half an inch wider in the back, the one more thing that we have to do is, because this is a wider wheel, is making sure that we have the right lug nuts. And I know that this isn't the most popular modification around because most people, they want to go to the lug stud conversion kit. But the reason why I didn't is because I don't like the open lug nuts when you use it on the lug bolts. And for my car, I just could not find the proper stud conversion kit. On this car, it needs a 14 by 1.5 and the length should be about 30 millimeters. I could not find anything like that. And anything that converts to the 12 by 1.25, all of those kits, the bolt was just too long. And so I would have to be stuck with open lug nuts or lock nuts. And then I would have to run the risk of dirt and corrosion coming into the open area. I just didn't want any of that. So I decided to stay with the conventional lug bolt that BMW uses. The other reason why I went with this is because after reading so many reviews on the lug stud conversion kits, there are a lot of places that services wheels and tires, like American Tires where I go. And a lot of those reviews said that those places would not mount the wheels onto your car because they were scared of those bolts breaking. And just to make everything easier for myself, because that is where I go, I decided to stay with the lug bolts, but I had to go a little bit longer because if you can see the thread here, this length here on this new bolt is just over 30 millimeters. The ones that come stock are 25 millimeters, and the lock nuts that I used to have that came from BMW are just a little bit more than that. So this is just a little bit longer than both of those. And the reason why I wanted that is because since we are working with a thicker wheel, I'm not sure if the hub of the wheel is gonna be thicker as well. So I got this extended bolt here, and don't worry, I've test fitted these bolts already. Even if there is no wheel on it, it does not go all the way through. So there's no worries about this getting in the way of any interference, especially when the car's moving. We don't want any of that. I've already tested it. It's gonna be clean and clear to go, especially with the wheels that we have coming up. Let's jump into the first thing that we need to do, which is jacking up the car. Correction, the first step is to break loose all the bolts on the wheel. That way when you remove it, when the car is lifted, it's a whole lot easier. Now we can jack up the car. And since we're actually not gonna be underneath the car, we can just use a jack for this. We don't need to use jack stands, but if you prefer to, feel free. Now remove the bolts completely and pull out the wheel. Let the bolts fall out. Woo, so you see all that dirt there on the wheel hub? We actually need to get rid of that with some brake clean and then put some anti-seize grease on there. And then we're gonna have to do the same thing to the inside of the wheel hub. And you can use any old wire brush. And now you can see that all that stuff, all that crud that was on there, it's falling right off. Do a second coat. And while you're here, it's not a bad idea to go through each one of the threads that you're gonna feed your new bolts into. Now when you're cleaning your wheel, you might want to use a lighter metal brush like brass, because the one that we used previously on the wheel hub, that one I believe is stainless steel. So this is gonna reduce the amount of scratches that are gonna happen in the wheel. Spray it again, clean up any spots that we missed. And as that's drying out, what we can do now is test fit our new wheel now that our fitment is all done, just to make sure that we have proper clearance. All right, don't worry. I'm not gonna ruin the surprise of what wheels that I have, but When you're here, just know that the strut here actually has a slight indentation and then it's flat. So this strut is not a perfectly cylindrical piece because of this flat side here, and that's meant to give us some clearance. Now, a good way to check if you have enough clearance on just the rim is see if you can put your finger there. Now, I can't really do that with this finger, but on my pinky, I can actually get it in, but not to my knuckle. And then, you know, turn your wheels left to right to make sure that you have proper clearance here. I already did all that, but this is something that you're gonna wanna do for your specific wheel because the size that you get might be different from the one that I get. So making sure that before you take the wheels to the shop, that they fit, because remember, the tire is gonna actually go over this just a little bit. So if your wheel doesn't fit, there's no way your wheel plus your tire will fit. Now that we've done our fitment assessment, the last thing that we need to do is put on our original wheel. But before we do that, it'd be nice if we put on some anti-seize here. That way, it's easier to get the wheel off, it doesn't stick or anything like that. Now let's throw our wheel back on. Before we thread in our first bolt. And even though that we got these bolts for our new wheels, because they are not all that much longer, they're gonna work just fine on our stock wheels. So might as well put them in now because these are all locking nuts. And if you're curious where you can get any of the stuff that I use in this video, I'm gonna leave all the affiliate links in the description down below. Don't forget to pop back in the emblem. Whew. Yes, I know these wheels are dirty. And lower down the car. Torque it down to 104 Newton meters. And just like that, you finish installing your new lug bolts onto your BMW. Now the length of your specific lug bolts will vary based off of the wheels that you get, as well as the offset that you have for your new wheels. If you're curious, I'm going with the same 18-inch wheel. It's going to be an 8.5 all the way around, so a square setup, and the offset that I have is a 35, meaning that the face of the wheel is 35 millimeters from the middle of the wheel. The higher your offset, the more inside the wheel will go. The lower the offset, the more the wheel will shift outwards. But mostly you wanna make sure that you have the proper amount of clearance, otherwise you will have to go with spacers. And then the other thing, which is the focus of this video, is that you're gonna have to get the appropriate size lug nuts or lug studs, if that's what you prefer, in order to match up with the new size of your wheels. That's why we didn't have to go super crazy here, is that the offset, I believe in the front is a 42 and I think a 50 something in the back. I'm gonna leave all the information on the stock wheels down below, and that's why we only went up in size by about 5 millimeters as far as the length of the new bolt. And it's also cool that they're all locking bolts as well. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and stay tuned for next week's video where we're going to do the reveal of the wheels that I actually got for the M235i. If you have any questions for me, leave it in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video.